Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am TJ Whitehead, power is taken, not given, with the distinct honor of being joined by the great Serafina. How are you doing today, my friend?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. We were just talking backstage about how once you start doing content creation for a while, you turn into a Hollywood director with just the smallest scenes and getting the lighting right and the angles correct and the right camera, microphone if you want. It's the rabbit hole never ends and you're never satisfied with the product. So you guys got to keep moving forward every time, but something a little bit off. It upsets you for 5, 10, 15 minutes before you can even get started.
Always. It is the absolute worst. I am a perfectionist when it comes to mine, and it'll still look bad. I'll still be like, oh, I could have done that better. I could have said that better. I could have filmed that better. That looks weird. And just no one cares but me.
Nobody cares, right? Nobody fucking cares. And I was telling her earlier is that, so when we all started, we had 0 followers, and you started putting content out there, started catching on, people started liking it. But when I go back and watch my old stuff, amazing. Anybody watched it? Amazing. And so if they follow that, they're going to follow something that's 10 times better, but in my opinion, just slightly off. But, this is just people. This is how we are. We really can't change it.
And we've gotten better, thankfully.
Yeah. And honestly, if we weren't those type of people, we wouldn't be doing it in the first place. So it's kind of a catch-22 in a lot of ways. All right. So a lot of questions I sent you to go over for today. And just wanted to see, I scheduled a whole bunch of these interviews right after the election. And I first started doing it because I just wanted to kind of rally the troops in a lot of ways, because I saw a lot of depression out there. I saw it was really bad. And I said, folks, we can't have this. This is not our first election. Okay. These things happen. I mean, Republicans went through this exact same thing in 2012 when Obama beat Romney. And it's eerily similar to this one, because the Republicans all thought that the polls were all wrong. They thought, oh, no, we got this. Forget what the pundits say. Romney's winning this shit. Romney got his ass kicked. And they started doing autopsies and saying, what are we going to do with the party and all? And it seems pretty similar with the Democrats. And so I'm just letting people know that, look, it's okay to feel depressed, but not okay to stay that way. We still got to get up and do the same stuff every day, just like if Trump would have lost. So just personally yourself, first, did the election results surprise you? And second, what were your immediate thoughts afterward?
So surprise me, not exactly. I even though I had a decent amount of faith in Harris, I was like, there's definitely a chance. There's a chance that this isn't going to go the way that we think it's going to go. And I always had that in the back of my head. So when it happened, I was upset, just like everyone else, ticked off for a lot of reasons. But
yeah,
I was kind of like, yeah, that's my fault for having faith. That's my fault for thinking that we were going to do something a little bit better. But, it is what it is. I could not sleep on the 5th. I was up.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm keeping track. And the thing is that this was my first time ever voting even. And so, yeah, this was my first time voting. I didn't vote in the 2020 election, even though I could have, I just didn't. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to vote in the next one. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm going to have to vote. And so I got up and did my thing, got my sticker. I was really happy about it, but it's not surprising. I'm just kind of disappointed. It's kind of just like I'm kind of just like, eh.
Yeah.
It is, and
well,
it's really sad, and it's really getting me of like the potential of what Trump can do.
Yeah.
Thinking that's the thing that's kind of getting me. At the same time, I'm like kind of in that situation where I'm like, I don't want to be just sitting up depressed about this all the time.
Yeah.
To move on from this, it's difficult whenever you're constantly thinking about everything that can happen. It's just, I had my moment to like mourn and like grieve and all of that, and now I'm kind of in a place now to where I'm like, okay, let's figure out what we can do to keep ourselves safe. Let's figure out what we can do to like make sure that these next 4 years aren't going to completely destroy us.
Yeah. I think that's the right attitude to have. A lot of folks are just despondent. It reminds me a little bit of 2016 when Trump won, but it's a little different this time because 2016 was just dour. Well, 2016 was dour and people were so terrified. There were marches in the streets and everything. This time, it's kind of like like a dull thud. Everyone's like, oh, Trump won. Oh, that kind of sucks. And it's just not there's no rage. There's no like incandescent burning rage coming from the left side anymore. It's like, well, here we go. Just Trump's not even president yet, and we're already just rolling our eyes, thinking, looking at these absurd picks he's making and stuff. And I saw it best put by someone I didn't even know. I was just scrolling, and they said that what really sucks the most about what's going on right now is all the worst people in the world are ecstatic, and the best people are really sad. And that's a great way to put it. That's honestly the best conceptualization I can think of this. And the outlook for the nation as a whole, I think now politically, without getting into the nerd shit and the weeds politically and stuff, there's a lot of horrible implications with Trump being back in power, obviously. But I think the nation is, well, I more or less know the nation is greater than just its political machinations. It's the people. Like, what's going to happen with like Biden would say, the soul of the people and everything. And that does worry me. That does worry me a little bit more, because what does it say about us? What does it say about this nation, right? We can't even use the thing. I'll tell you what, I was shocked that Trump won. Not necessarily because I thought Harris knocked it out of the park with her campaign. And listen, Harris's campaign, she did a decent job given what she had to work with. Giving a 90-day campaign, a near impossible task. I thought she did. There are a lot of things I disagree with, but overall, I give it like a B+ campaign. She didn't do a terrible job. But I thought for certain enough people would be anti-Trump to carry it through. Yeah. Turns out, no. Turns out Trump more or less had the same number of people that voted for him this election as he did last election, which means that they saw everything. They saw the 91 indictments. They saw the 34 convictions. They saw, being found civilly liable for rape in a civil court. They saw they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, and they all still went. I was stunned. That actually does surprise me. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that definitely does. That takes me for a loop just a little bit. I want to say maybe like a month before the election happened, whenever like a bunch of crazy shit was just coming out that he was saying, and him, like people that are on his staff, people that he like has supported, that were just coming out saying the most wild shit. That one dude that got up there and talked about the like everybody in Puerto Rico. I was like, whoa. And so I thought that would be enough to deter people a bit, to kind of be like, okay, I feel like this dude has kind of lost his mind. Like throughout everything that I was seeing, I remember I was seeing so many videos of people like leaving Trump rallies in the middle of the rally and all of that. And I was kind of just like, okay, people are finally getting fed up. People are finally like, yeah, this is too much. I can't stand by him anymore. He's just speaking gibberish at this point. And that part did actually surprise me, where I was like, it wasn't even the fact that Harris lost. It was just the fact of how many people voted for Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because I thought his numbers would dip a little bit. Maybe people would be disenfranchised. I didn't expect like a massive blowout of people like rallying to Harris. But I thought the anti-Trump vote would be strong to carry it. Did not happen. In fact, just like, this is the crazy thing about Donald Trump. He actually, I'm pretty sure he gained in every demographic. I think he gained, just like last time where he gained. And this is just, I don't see any value. I don't see any value that a lot of people on the left are doing by just shit talking voters and saying, well, voters are stupid and voters are dumb. Okay, fine. We know that. That's not a surprise. We are not under any illusion that the median voter knows a lot about politics or has the best values in the world. We got that. You still need to get those votes, okay? So complaining about that only gets you so far. I don't like when people do this, because it suspiciously requires no work from you to say, well, the voters are just bad. Okay, sorry, you got to go back out there anyway. But all that being said, like, how do you message to someone like this? If there are millions of people out there who saw Donald Trump all these years and how he keeps growing, like white women, for example, white women voted. So in 2016, 49% of white women voted for Donald Trump. And in 2020, I think it was 53% voted for Donald Trump. And then in 2024, 53% again voted for Donald Trump. I thought for sure that the abortion issue would knock a few off. No, didn't happen.
Yes, I 100% thought that that was going to deter a lot, specifically like white women. I
Yeah.
was like, there's no way that they're gonna see all of this. Like Roe got overturned in 22. Like I figured that would be something for people to be like, okay, this is actually starting to get a little insane. And so I figured that was going to be when I saw the exit polls and I saw the percentages and everything,
Yep.
and I was just like, wow, like y'all everybody voted for this man. It's like everybody was up there doing, and it's like, except us. It was just
Yes, we are getting there. We are getting there. It's like, this is going to be my one. I haven't done any gloating on this, but this is my opportunity in this stream. We are going to do some heavy gloating on this. But before we do that, I will, because the abortion one is a major one. That's honestly, that was, I think, that was my primary reason for a long time, saying that enough people are going to go out there. Abortion is very popular. Every time abortion is put on a ballot, it gets a majority of the votes. So if you're going to go out there and vote for abortion, you're going to vote blue down the line. That's just going to happen, right? It has to. You know how Republicans feel about abortion. Boy, was I wrong. That is not something I'm used to saying. I'm almost never wrong about this shit. And Missouri had an abortion measure and it passed. Missouri approved it. A majority of people in Missouri, this is what this means, folks. A majority of Missouri voters went out and said, yes, we want to protect abortion rights. We also want to cast a ballot for Donald J. Trump. I don't know what to fucking tell you now. I really don't. Like, once again, shitting on voters doesn't do any good, but what the fuck? How could you possibly? And this happened state after state after state after state, where people's like, yep, abortion, yes, undone. No one Harris. I don't know. That's just kind of weird right there.
I can't understand it. I thought it was very odd that I saw, for one, the fact that he got all of the swing states. That was insane.
Every goddamn one of them.
I'm like, he got all of the swing states, and I was looking at the stats from some of them, and it's like, okay, so a lot of these states were relatively blue, but for some reason, it's like everybody was like, okay, cool, blue, 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 President Trump. That's what we want to do here. It's like, how did?
Listen, look, I know this is kind of frustrating. And so a lot of it, I can see it stepping back. I can kind of see it because the Democrats have a big issue with their messaging in that people don't really understand what Democrats, then again, neither do Democrats. The Democrats don't like, what was Kamala Harris's like unifying message for her campaign? If anyone could say, what was it? I mean, like, what was the flagship policy? And it's not there. Donald Trump, on the other hand, had a lot of he would say stuff like, no tax on tips. And he would say stuff like that, or we're not going to tax your overtime. We're gonna implement tariffs. Really quick, really easy to digest. Even if you don't understand the policy, you could repeat it and you could say it. And then Kamala Harris and Tim Walz come out there and say, what we're going to do is offer a $15,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers. You've already lost people. Gone. They don't know what that means. No fucking clue what you're talking about. Yeah, so that's the Democrats' problem, is that, one, the messaging isn't that great. Two, a lot of our conversations tend to be needlessly academic in a lot of our language. We're married to a lot. I've seen this a whole lot with lefties over the years, that we're married to nomenclature rather than to actual policy. Like, if you need to say these specific words, if you try to say it any other way or dance around it, then you're not really one of us. And we're kind of guilty of that in a lot of ways. But most importantly, I think what Trump did that people need to learn from, well, be entertaining, not entertaining, but at least interesting to listen to. That's a big deal. That Trump, you're going to listen to him. You are. And most politicians, you're like, oh, this is kind of boring. But Trump gave people an enemy. And sounds bad to folks because they don't want to think this way, but I'm sorry, politics is combat. It's a battle. The goal is to assume power and to win. And Trump said, well, black people are your enemy, or Mexicans are your enemy, or immigrants are your enemy. This is what yeah. The Haitians, they're your enemy. He called out a specific so that's awful and toxic the way they do it. But we don't do that well enough to say, hey, the corporations are your enemy, which people already think. But the Democrats are afraid to do that because that's the base of their, $1 million donation. So they're kind of in a catch-22 unless the solution would be to attack capitalism, and they're all afraid to do that.
Exactly. That's the real thing that everybody wants to do, because they're like, this isn't benefiting anyone but the rich, and everyone who actually like cares about the election, cares about who's winning, like cares what the actual policies are, would know that like this isn't really benefiting me at all. But how can I say this in a nice way?
Don't bother being nice. Don't bother.
Trump said once upon a time that he polls really well with the uneducated.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm like, even a broken clock is right twice a day. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There are heavy stats on this that Trump did very, very well. He always has. And one population that he did not do well with, though, that would be the Black population. And so we'll get on this. What were your thoughts after seeing that? That they finally can't blame us for something. No way they can try to blame this one on Black people.
Oh no. When I saw that, I mean, it's not surprising at all, because I was like, okay, cool. We did what we were supposed to do, like we always do. We always take care of business. We always make sure everything that we put our thing in there if no one else is. What I think they're gonna blame us for, though.
Oh boy.
There were a lot of people, Black people specifically, who after the election happened, they were so pissed that they were like, you know what? Forget it. Fuck everything. I'm not doing shit else for anybody else. I'm not marching. I'm not doing anything like that. And I feel like they're going to blame the Black community as a whole because there's not going to be as much of like people advocating for other people and being like, hey, this person was wrongfully arrested and we need to rally for this person, this, that, and the third. A lot of people that I have seen just on TikTok alone have been like, if they don't look like me, I'm not saying shit, I'm not doing shit. And it's like, I'm not doing that, but at the same time, I get it, because we are literally always at the forefront of everything. And so I feel like that's what they're going to start to blame us for. But where's the Black people? Why is the Black community not rallying for? Why are they not doing this? A lot of them are tired.
Yeah, that's took the words right out of my mouth with that, because I saw a lot of that too, and I think that is an unfortunate way because it's like I get the frustration. I absolutely do understand the frustration. But the first time I saw a video of someone saying, well, look, I saw that the Arab American population, a larger percentage of them voted for Trump this year. I mean, not a majority, but a larger percent than last time. And so don't come to me when it's time to protest Jeff Palestine. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Are you not against genocide now? All of a sudden you're fine with that because an election went the wrong way? That just tells me you were actually never against the genocide to begin with. That's what that tells me. And I've seen this. I've seen it for the Palestine thing, and I've seen it for the women thing, where they're like, oh, look, 53 or 54% of white women voted for Donald Trump. Don't come to me whenever there's an abortion issue. I'm not going to rally about it. Why not? Abortion doesn't only affect white people. I hate to tell you. I find that I guess I get the emotional response and the anger and the disappointment, but this is a lot bigger than one election. I'm sorry to tell folks, that's just how this is, And for the numbers, if I remember correctly, it was, I think 92% of Black women voted for Harris, and I think 82% of Black men, something around there. And
I think I see there's so many different numbers that are floating around. I had seen 90, 91, 92 for Black. I had seen 80, I had seen 83, I saw 87, I saw 86. Yeah. And so it's a little shaky, but for the most part, we did what we were supposed to do.
Yes. And I was especially happy with the Black men one, because I don't know if you saw this, but about a month leading up into the election, every news story I saw said, well, it looks like Black men are fleeing to Donald Trump. It looks like a bunch of Black men are voting for Trump. Obama did like a specific speech for Black men saying, it's really unfortunate that all you guys are going to be voting for Trump and everything. Nope. Bullshit narrative. Like Black people, pretty much exactly like it always has been. So I'm especially happy for the Black guys that out there, everyone said that they'd be supporting Trump. That was pretty good to see.
Yeah, because I had seen a couple of, I hadn't really seen that many to the point to where I thought that like Black men were just gonna go out and vote for Trump. Like I didn't think it was that insane, but I had seen a couple of different ones, like Black men saying, oh, well, Trump gave us a stimulus check the last time, so I'm voting so I can get another stimulus check, or something like that, or like I don't think a woman should be in office or something like that. Like I've seen stuff like that, and of course, just like the unicorn Black MAGA person, like I've seen it. It's just I didn't think that they were like an infestation or anything.
Yeah, a significant portion of the population that is deserving of our concern and all that. And what you said right there, I heard this whenever I hear someone say that, I'm voting for Trump because Trump gave us a stimulus check. I was like, I don't think this person actually votes. This doesn't make any sense. Because like Biden gave you a stimulus check too, right? I mean, it's like that doesn't seem to enter into the conversation. And also, Trump never promised to give another stimulus check. That's never been something that came out of his mouth. Why would you just assume he'd do it again? Because he did it during a national emergency, a pandemic. Why would you think that's going to be a specific part of his platform? The reasons behind people saying that they support Trump, that is always the most bizarre one to me. I don't know if you heard it all that often.
Yeah, it's just really weird. And plus, from what I heard, Trump didn't even want to give the first stimulus check. Like they had to make him. Like there was something that had to go under that. That's what I heard.
So what happened with the first stimulus check is the first stimulus check came out, and the big deal with Trump is he wanted his name on the paper checks that went out. That was what the holdup was for the first check. And I remember people saying how tawdry that was and how unbecoming that was. Yeah, it was also a good fucking idea. It was actually a genius political idea. Yeah, put my name on the check and everything. And also, it's also a big news story. It's even better. Even if you couldn't get your name on the check, the fact that it was national news that he wanted his name on the check is only going to make people associate him with the stimulus check even more. Which is exactly what happened. Because most people don't actually pay attention and watch the news. So yeah, I don't know. The median voter doesn't really pay attention to policy. I hate to say it, and it's been a bitter pill for me to swallow watching politics all these years. That people joke about elections being popularity contests. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. I hate to break that to you guys. All right, so. That's what I have here is about how did racism and white nationalism become so blatant? Oh, yeah, and unapologetic over the years. All right. This has been, I think that's one of another reasons that Donald Trump's ascension into power, into national prominence, even more than he was before presidents, has been so toxic because it goes beyond the laws he signs or the policies he implements. It brings to the surface, like, oh, the president of the United States is a white nationalist now. It's okay to be one, and people are just more open and proud about it over there. Have you online? I know you've got to see it. I know you've got to see it all the time because I certainly do.
Oh yes, and that was exactly, you just took the words right out of my mouth, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, if they are seeing nothing but misogynistic, racist men that are in power, then of course they're going to feel a lot more inclined to do that themselves and be more open and unapologetic about it. Like I know you saw the video of the Nazis that were like walking around with flags and screaming slurs and stuff, and I'm like, they're getting awfully bold, and it's because the people that are in power are sharing the same values as them. And so it's like, oh, I feel like I'm being seen. I feel like I'm being heard. I feel like I can go out and do this and do this. And it's like, this is the problem. This is the issue, because of the fact that we don't even have limitations for rapists or for people who are literal felons from being in office. And so it's like, they're like, yeah, of course I can be racist and bigoted all I want. We've got a felon in office. Like, who cares?
We're gonna have a felon as president of the United States. That is so wild. That is, the funny thing about that, funny is that on principle, I actually support the fact that felons can run for office. Like on principle, I do. And no, I'm not joking. I really do. But here's why. It's because Eugene Debs, and for those of you who don't know who Eugene Debs was, he was a socialist activist in the early part of the 20th century. He was against World War I. He thought the United States shouldn't have entered it. And he was arrested, I think, on sedition charges or something, or saying that the United States shouldn't be involved in this. And he served a little bit of time in prison, and he ran for president from prison. And he actually got a ton of votes. He got something like 2 or 3% of the popular vote as a socialist running for president. And he's an example of why I think it's good that felons can run for office, is that if felons couldn't run for office, then they could just do some, pardon the pun, trumped up charges on somebody, get you slapped with a felony. Now you're removed from the political process. I don't think that's right. However, that doesn't mean I support Trump, obviously, but I fucking hate this when Donald Trump does something that I in principle agree with, or in principle I think is pretty cool, like starting a space force and fucking porn stars. That's awesome, right? That's pretty cool. Or in all likelihood, being our first atheist president, honestly.
Right.
Right? I mean, all of these things in a vacuum, I think, are fantastic. It's unfortunate it happened to be with Donald Trump. Being a felon and being president, honestly, kind of funny. Funny. You know what? If it was Eugene Debs, I'd be totally cool with it. But it's Donald Trump, unfortunately. But yeah, that was just oh, I didn't see these comments here. Heather wrote, I'm so excited to hear about this topic. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your perspectives. Appreciate that. Jessica says, sorry, nope, Trump cheated. I don't know what that meant. Trump cheated with what? I'm not sure what it means. But where's I going with that? Trump and his the white nationalism and the spreading and all that. That Trump's influence has emboldened people to just say, oh yeah, I'm a bigot and I'm perfectly fine with it. I was shocked to find this out before the election started, that Trump's mass deportation platform had like 54% support from the United States of America, from the people in general, not just Republicans. Like a majority of people were A-okay with mass deportation. That I should have known then that Trump was going to win. Honestly, how that didn't give it away for me, because my heart absolutely sank when that happened. But this can be blamed a lot on Donald Trump. But what I think I sent the message. One of the things that definitely has just poisoned the discourse of the United States population way more than I thought was red pill content. And especially when we saw the numbers with the Gen Z men who voted for Trump. I can't remember what the numbers were, but Gen Z men, I think they went up. It was 13 or 15 points from last time voting for Republicans. And I think the red pill stuff has a lot to do with this.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so sad that, I mean, that's how they're getting more emboldened with everything, because not only are they seeing these types of people in office that are like in charge of things, they're also seeing these types of people on social media every day that are saying these things that are probably some sort of thoughts that they had in the back of their head. And they're like, oh, somebody else feels this way too. Oh, let me share this with my friends and tell them like, hey, we're superior as men and women suck, make us sandwiches or whatever. And it's like, when you're seeing those people literally all around you, because I had a boyfriend who was Gen Z, and he was just absolutely subscribed to that. Like, he loved Kevin Samuels. He was one of those, like, loved Kevin Samuels, probably would have loved Andrew Tate. We broke up before he became really big, but he was one of those people who subscribed to that type of thing. And it made me realize just how many there are. And that was like a couple of years ago. I feel like it's gotten even worse today. Every time I turn around, I'm seeing somebody that's just completely going off and being like, men are superior, men are better, men this, men that, women so. And it's like, it's always been here, but
so if I don't get too personal, but I'm just curious about this, because he got into like red pill content. So usually when I think of guys who get into this, I think of guys who don't have girlfriends or don't have. How did this happen? Or if you know, I mean, maybe it just snuck up on you. Like, how did?
I did not know for a good while. He didn't come off as the type. It wasn't something that we talked about when we were dating. It wasn't until we had been together for a while, and I think he had been watching the videos probably like in secret and didn't ever tell me about it, because he knew that I was very, very much liberal, very, very much not subscribing to any of that. I'm queer on top of everything else. And so it's like all of those things, a part of me feels like he hid it until I was too comfortable.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, maybe he had started before you guys got together, and he's like, okay, I'm going to drop a few his. Oh, look at this. I found this video. Who is this guy? Kevin? Who is this? I've never seen him before. What do you think about him? And
when I tell you that is basically verbatim what happened. I remember there was the first time that he ever showed me like a video of his, he was just like sitting there watching YouTube, and he was like, oh, listen to what this dude is saying. Like, I just found this guy, and I love what he's saying here. And it just kind of like just snuck in over time. And we broke up shortly after that, so it was fine, but it kind of just like snuck in over time. So when I think of red pill men, I don't think of them having girlfriends, because who would
Yeah.
want to be around them? And the only people who would willingly want to be around them would be like pick me women, but
Yeah.
pick me women never get picked. So it's like, in my personal experience, he kind of snuck that in there, and I didn't know until I was well into. I think we had been together for basically a year at this point before I even saw it.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
That's incredible, because I honestly, like, I couldn't imagine being just a huge fan of this type of content and then saying, I bet my girlfriend would really love this. Cause like I can understand, like, a dude, if someone is online telling you that you should be king of the world and that all your thoughts and all your prejudices, all of your preconceived notions are 100% correct, and all the problems you have, they're not your fault. They can be blamed on women. Okay, I can see how that would be appealing. It's like, okay, yeah, of course, who wouldn't want to hear stuff like that? But then I don't know why you would begin to think that unless, you know what? I was just thinking about Kevin Samuel. You know what he did all the time? He would always have women on his show.
That's what he
And
would show me. That's what he would show me. His way of excusing it, I guess, because it rubbed me the wrong way whenever I saw it the first time, obviously. But his way of excusing it is he would show me videos where women were calling in and talking, and he'd be like, "Well, look, he talks to women the exact same way that he like says men and this, that, and the third." He's like, he basically made it seem like, oh, Kevin Samuels doesn't discriminate. He's, just being real and just with everybody. That was his excuse to like make it sound better. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe a lot of people fell for that. But when I was watching it myself, I was like, I'm seeing differences between like when he's talking to men and when he's talking to women. Like there's even sounds on TikTok of like, and people don't even know that it's Kevin Samuels, of him like talking to a woman and like saying this, that like, I can't remember what the sound is, but I think she was like, I'm a Virgo, so this is why I do this and this. And he's like, I get so tired of black women. That's Kevin Samuels.
no.
People, there's sounds floating around everywhere and all of that. And so I feel like a lot of people just didn't fully grasp it, or at least people who were subscribing to that type of, I don't even know if I can call it doctrine, but like just the red pill mentality, I guess.
Yeah, I like what your boyfriend said, that he's not misogynistic. He treats everyone poorly, as if that's a positive. As if I'm like, is that supposed to impress me? That he's an asshole. Even if what you're saying is true, just saying he's an asshole to everybody doesn't make him a better person. It actually makes him twice as bad.
Yeah.
And then it also, and he should have known better. It's like because you ever let's see. Oh, I got an example. So with racism, you ever hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm not racist. I hate everyone." That person is a racist. That's what racists say. Racists say that, and they also like to say, "I don't care if you're black, white, or purple." Those are the guarantees that the person you're talking to is a stone cold racist. You ever notice that shit?
100%. And I was just about to say that too. I was like, if you really want to spot a racist, they'll tell you, they'll be like, "Oh, I don't see color," or "I don't care if you're this, and this. You could be yellow, pink, purple, polka dots." And it's like, you are racist as fuck.
Yep.
I can see it in your eyes.
Yep. They always do the imaginary colors and shit. Like, there's plenty of colors that people come in. Why do you got to add in purple and polka dots? Like, if someone's purple, you should care. You should absolutely care. The time to discriminate is now, because they're going to be dead in a couple of minutes from lack of oxygen to their brain. I don't understand it. And the red pill thing. So what do you think is the source of the young men in particular? Because I FD Signifier, I don't know if you ever follow him on YouTube or you've seen any of his essays, but he does 2 or 3 really long video essays about the red pill movement and how it tends to attract young men in their teens and early 20s. That's when it kind of puts their hooks into them. And for the most part, they tend to grow out of it. And that honestly makes perfect sense to me based on what I've seen and how it appeals to them. But I'd like to get your opinion on this first. Like, what do you think is the attractive part of the red pill to these folks?
I think for the most part, it really appeals to people who like teens, early adulthood, probably don't have a lot of experience with women, probably
Or zero. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like the only woman they ever met was their mom. Like,
Yeah.
they don't really have any experience, and so I feel like it's just them being just completely naive and just feeling like, oh well, I've got to do this, 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 and this in order to get women because I see this person, because it's always somebody who's older. It's always a man who is older, who is pushing this on them and knows that their most like impressionable audience, their brains are still developing, they're still learning how the world works. And so I feel like, because of the fact, like what you brought up earlier, how it's appealing because it makes you feel good. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm superior and this other gender needs to bow down to me and all of that. So when you're dealing with, for one, teenage hormones, you're dealing with a bunch of other stuff, and you're still trying to get your brain to develop everything, and you're being told by this person, even if your parents are telling you something completely different, even if you have both your parents in your life and both of them are telling you this is the way that you're supposed to treat a woman, people pay a lot more attention to the things that they're seeing other people do and seeing other people say more than they will their parents, which is crazy. And so I feel like because a lot of them are on social media, a lot of them, this is what they see on a regular basis, and they kind of just go with it, which is why I feel like there's somewhat still hope for at least some of them, because it's kind of like, this isn't, at some point you do have to learn that this isn't the way to go. Like, at some point you're going to talk to an actual woman and you're going to say something crazy to her and she's going to sock you in the fucking jaw and you're going to be like, whoa, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, you can't do that. I don't know why you thought that you could just go into this world and just be blatantly misogynistic and didn't think that you were going to get anything from it. So I feel like for a lot of them, it's going to be a fuck around and find out type of situation, but they will find out.
Yeah, I agree completely that the real toxic part about the red pill, honestly, it's the same that applies to any bullshit narrative or hate group, is that it always has like 20% truth to it. And that's what people use as the doorway in, because this isn't necessarily red pill stuff, but red pill uses this a lot. And you'll see this with folks who are definitely not red pill people, like Jordan Peterson. I wouldn't call him a red pill guy, or Ben Shapiro. Just conservative talking points where, well, for example, a conservative talking point is that if you're broke, it's your fault, or if you're poor, it's your fault. So what you should do is you should work hard, you should show up on time for your job, and you're going to excel. That's actually very good advice, right? Now, that doesn't solve a systemic problem, but the red pill guys, what they do is that they'll catch people, they'll catch guys in their younger days who are emotionally vulnerable, scared, and there's like, they talk about the crisis of masculinity going on. And this it's a lot deeper than what people, in my opinion, it's a lot deeper than what people say than, well, men are just genetically born evil or some bullshit like that, And it's like, no, what really is that, oh, I heard an echo. I thought it was you, it was me. But so what really happens is that society does teach something to young boys and young women. And they'll tell the guys, listen, if you just be nice all the time, you're just a really capitulating person, is easygoing, like a romantic comedy guy. You just like, women are just machines that you put niceness coins into, and then sex comes out. And that's what they kind of grow up thinking. That doesn't happen. And it's like, oh, that's not how human beings work. That's not how relationships work. They're people. You treat like anybody else, and you move on from there. And then you have the situation where men also are taught this fantasy that, hey, if you grow up, you work hard, you get a job, you'll be rewarded with your very own human being, and she will be there for you all the time. That doesn't happen. That's not how it works anymore. Even if you do grow up and get a job and everything, it's probably not going to be enough to support a family. Those days are gone. It's over. So now you're 19, 20 years old, and you're thinking, well, what am I now? Like my concept of a man that I had been taught my entire life is gone. It doesn't exist. Well, what does this mean now? Then Andrew Tate comes along, and he starts off with good advice, saying something like, look, if you want to be more successful with not just women, but with men or with your career, you need to stop focusing on the other people and work on yourself. You need to get a hobby. You need to You need to practice proper hygiene. You need to start going to the gym. Make yourself the best version of you possible. And that's going to be attractive to everyone you meet, male or female. That's great advice. That is fucking amazing. And it seems common sense, yeah, but a lot of people don't have that. Like, that's absolutely true. And then they start feeding in, by the way, did you know the reason that everything's falling apart is women? Did you know that? And they're like, oh my God. So yeah.
Just put it in there.
Yeah, I think that's really how easily it works. And if you already feel betrayed by society as a whole, you already feel like you've been lied to, you know the world is stacked against you, you know everything is unfair. And then the red pill guy comes along and says, yeah, the life is unfair. Toughen up, make it unfair in your favor. And then they become sociopaths. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I want to go back to what you said earlier about how it's like they give you an enemy. They tell you who to hate, and they're like, yep, your issues, everything, yep, it's because of women. And that's where they start thinking like, oh, okay, so women are terrible, but I also feel entitled to have a woman because I want a woman. So I'm going to treat every woman like complete and utter shit. But because of the fact that I have a job and I work out and I do all of this, she's going to deal with it anyway. And I feel like a lot of that comes from watching their parents deal with the same thing, watching their grandparents deal with the same thing, like them having maybe a paternal figure, could be either a paternal figure that treats their mom like shit, and their mom just kind of sticks around and deals with it, not because she wants to, but because financially she can't take care of herself and she has kids with him and everything else will be more complicated. And so they see that and they think, oh, okay, cool, once I get my woman, she's never going to go anywhere. And so no matter what I do, she's always going to be there. And since everything is changing now, and there's a lot of women that are like turning around and being like, I don't think I want to deal with that. I feel like you being 6'4" and having tattoos and having a 6-figure job is not going to erase the fact that you're a piece of shit. And for some reason, that's like super surprising for them. And so I think a lot of the anger comes from, like you said, being told this is what you need to do. This is how you're going to get there. And then them doing all of that and still not getting the thing that they wanted. And so I feel like there's a lot of anger that's in it as well, of just being like, but I was told that I can have this if I do this.
Yeah. And what's really nefarious about it is, I'm glad you brought that up, that, look, you can be 6'4" and tattoos and have a high paying job and everything like that. But I got news for you guys. That's not enough. Like, it's not going to be enough. Now, Grant, listen, if you are like a taller guy, will get more attention, or a guy with more money, guy with the better clothes. That's true. Like in the beginning, like it may give you a better first step, but it's just the first fucking step. There's way more to this than the first step. Because if that were listen, I always bring this up that if you guys listening, every woman you know, like almost to a person, every woman you know, if she's in a relationship, it's with someone who's probably significantly less attractive than her, right? You rarely, okay, right? So I bring this up all the time, and the guy's like, "Oh, women only want to date the square jaw." But no, most guys are regular fucking dudes, and regular dudes do not put a lot of work into how they look. They just don't. I mean, it's why people don't believe it. It's just why, honestly, the red pill shit actually does give you good advice. Where it's like, how about you take care of your body? How about you buy clothes that fit? How about you brush your hair every now and then? Because a lot of guys don't. And those are your average guys, and your average guy is in a relationship or is married. So clearly that's not what really counts. But working on yourself is what really matters. But what's really pernicious about this is that they do buy into that, where they say, okay, the only way that I could possibly get in I'm 21 years old. I've never been on a date. I've been on 5 dating apps and no one swiped right on me. And look, I get it. That would be horrible, it would be depressing and sad. And you think, well, how come nobody wants me? Why? I'm trying my best. I'm being myself, like everybody says, and they're getting me nowhere. I get it. I understand why that would be sad. But then you start listening to red pill stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, so if I want to be attractive to women, I've got to be 6'4". Okay, I'm 5'8". I'm never going to be 6'4". That's out the door. I got to get a job that pays 6 figures. You're not getting one. It's not going to happen, right? You might get one 20 years from now, but by then you'll need 150K to be in the top, 10% or whatever. And I got to have like a Hollywood chiseled jaw. most likely not going to happen. You know, you probably look better now at 21 than you're going to look for the rest of your life. This is as good as it's going to get. So they put this standard on being like this top 10%, this top 5% man. They're not going to make it there. The 5% is going to stay the 5%. If you're in the 15 or the 10%, at best, you might get 50. So then when you realize, okay, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to be this mythical person that the red pill guys say I need to be for women to find me attractive. Now, what do you have? Now you've got nothing. Now you've got a life of depression and inadequacy looking right ahead of you.
Exactly. And that's where the anger comes in of being like, nobody wants me, so I'm just going to go and do this and do that. Those are those men that will go out and like commit crimes against women for no other reason other than they're like, women don't want me. And so I'm going to go out and I'm angry at the whole race. And it's like, or the whole gender. And it's like,
well,
like, it's not that deep.
It's funny you brought up the race thing, because I'm sure you've noticed that how quickly racism jumps into the red pill folks too. Have you noticed this? I've noticed this a lot, that it is a very quick jog from the red pill community to the Nazi community. Like they're very closely aligned.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I think it's interesting whenever I see Black men specifically that are falling for this type of thing, because it's like, I can promise you're like 2 steps from them being like, and you too, you're the problem too.
Yeah. It is the one I think of Fresh and Fit is who I think of with this, because the Fresh and Fit guys are obviously misogynist and they revel in it. Also brutally racist, ironically, against Black people. Just brutally racist against Black people, as much as I don't know if you saw that time they had like Klan hoods on, they're doing Nazi salutes and everything. Yeah, they're hanging out with Nick Fuentes and everything. It's like these guys, I don't know, and I think what it comes down to is red pill is based a lot on biological essentialism. That's kind of the foundation of the entire thing. If you're a man, you should act like this, and this is like your destiny given to you by God. If you're a woman, you should act like this. This is your destiny given to you. Quick hop, skip, and a jump from that to you were born with this race, therefore you should do this, and you were born with that race, and therefore you should do this. Hoteps, they kind of remind me a lot of Hoteps. That's kind of the blend between red pill and racist. Although I don't know. What do you think?
I genuinely, for one, I really, really try to stay away from the red pill stuff as much as I possibly can. So I haven't like seen their podcast or anything, but I see a lot of similarities with a lot of them, because they get to the point to where they're like, okay, I've got my audience now I can say what I really want to say. And it's like, I don't like you, you're the problem too, you're better than you, and you're better than you. And I feel like a lot of that is actually linked to religion a bit too, which is like what triggered me whenever you said that, like, oh well, you're ordained by God to do this and this because you're a woman, or you are this and this because you're Black, or whatever, because of the fact that so many of these like red pill guys are also really, really, a lot of them are really religious too, and they have that feeling of being like, oh yeah, well even my religion says that women like men are superior to men, and women are supposed to be subservient, and even my religion says that you being Black is a curse and you're supposed to do this and this. And so I feel like there's so many different factors that go into it, and they use them all to their advantage. I would say, and I say this treading on very thin ice, they're relatively smart with what they do. They know what they're doing. Yeah. They know what they're doing. They know their audience. They know who's listening, and they know once they've got you hooked, they can really say anything, and you're going to be like, oh, well, I mean, they were right about the other thing and the thing that they said there, and so they must be right about this too. And that's where that harmful rhetoric starts to really, really get pushed around, because they're like, well, this person said this, and they were right about this. This was proven to be fact. Like you were talking about with the whole, they're right like 20% of the time. Like they'll say something that's genuinely good, and they'll build off of that. I feel like they can really take that steps further, and that's how people will start to like hate themselves and be like, oh, I'm not desirable, I'm not good enough, or I'm supposed to be in this very specific box. And so it's just, there's so many factors that come along with it. It's like saying one harmful thing can hurt so many different people for so many different reasons, and it's like, they're way more powerful than I think they realize. I think they know that they know what they're doing and they're really smart, but at the same time, it's like they hold way more power than they'll ever understand, because some of these people will genuinely hear that and will be like, oh, cool. So I'm a piece of shit. I'm not going to get any better. I'm not desirable. So I should just settle for this, this, and this. And so I feel like there's so many different factors that come along with it.
With the religion thing, that's a great point. Because they appeal to God and religion all the time, all the time. Even folks who are nominally secular, they'll at least pay lip service to. They do it because of the hierarchical nature of religion, and like so. I'm not sure about this, but I think you grew up I think you may have grown up religious, and so in your experience, is that something that you encountered all the time, just from the religious mindset that hey, there are rules, there's a presbytery structure, and it's a top down like command authority type of thing, and how people can so easily fall into that. In what ways did you see that easily exploited, do you think, over the years from religion?
Oh my goodness. I saw so much of it. And what was funny is there was a decent amount of it that was coming from the men. A lot of it was coming from the women.
Yep.
My mother is a really good example of that. When I was a kid, I told my mother that I wanted to be a pastor one day. I was like, oh yeah, I want to be a pastor because my stepdad was a pastor and I saw him up there and I was like, oh yeah, I want to go and do this. And her first words to me were, women don't belong in the pulpit. Women do not belong in the pulpit. She's like, I was always taught that that's not a job that you can do. You can be like a secretary. You can be something like that. And so they push it. And the thing about religion is a lot of the times they target very, very young minds, a lot like the red pill agenda. They are specifically going after you whenever you're young and impressionable, and they know that they can get you to believe what they're trying to say. And so for a really long time, I was just told, oh yeah, well, women don't belong in that field. Women aren't supposed to do that. Women aren't supposed to do this, because of how it was perpetuated like in the church and just in religion in general. Just crack open the Bible and point to a random story. I bet you'll find something extremely misogynistic.
Yes, it won't take long at all.
Yeah, so it's like there's that's what I mean whenever I say that it's connected, because when you take someone who is already misogynistic and already sees women in a very specific light and already sees men in a very specific light, and you add religion that also perpetuates that same thing, and you put them together, that's where everything just gets completely messed up, because now you're appealing to different demographics. Because sometimes there might be people who like follow the religion but didn't specifically like find your page, and then they randomly hear you talk about God, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, this is something for me, and they'll start to listen to you too.
Yeah,
that's why I say that they're smart with it. They're real smart, because they know I can appeal to multiple different groups of people if I just say this, if I just throw this in there, if I just add this in there, and it's gradual over time.
God, that's so unfortunate how easy it is to hack people's minds that way. That just something that is unnecessary and for the most part entirely baseless and untrue, that you can dig your hooks into someone 30 years after the fact. They probably haven't stepped into a church in decades, but they hear you talking about God, instantaneously trustworthy. This person must know what they're talking about. They reference God. It's kind of like how it's unfortunate that man of God is just shorthand for good person. This person is a believer. This person must be great. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt for no reason at all. And the it's so funny you said that you can crack open the Bible and find something misogynistic no matter where you look. And even when you point it out to people, they still act like you're the crazy one. Like your mom with how women can't be pastors. And it's like, well, how come women can't be pastors, but men can? Well, it's not that God thinks men are better than women. It's just that they have different roles. The role of the man is to talk, and the role of the woman is to shut the fuck up. That's just how it is. It's easy that way. And they'll do stuff like they'll say, well, the Bible says, yeah, right in there says, wives, obey your husbands as the Lord. And then they'll respond by saying, well, if you look a couple verses later, it commands husbands to love their wives. So, I mean, it's pretty much like, how is that the same to you? How can you look me in the eye and tell me that that's anywhere remotely similar to a fair deal? I just, it causes you to say absurd shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really similar to the, and I can always bring it back to slavery somehow, some way I can bring it back to there. But it reminds me of the verse. I can't remember if it's in Ecclesiastes or somewhere there where it says like slaves obey your earthly masters as you would the Lord, and then there's like a verse a couple of ways down, and it's like masters don't like provoke your slaves to be angry, or well, I can't remember exactly what it says. And so anytime that you would point out like, hey, this is talking about slaves, they'll be like, well, this verse down here says masters are supposed to treat their slaves right as well. So slavery's cool. Like
That's I will say that's as awful as that is, folks. That's actually a better answer than you usually get from these folks. Usually they'll deny there's slavery there at all. Like you'll just read the verse and like, nah, I'm sure you've got. Well, it always goes the same way. Always goes the same fucking way. You say, well, the Bible says that you can own slaves. No, it doesn't. Well, actually, this verse says that you can. Oh, well, that's misinterpretation. It actually means servants. Well, if you look down here, it says you can own them for life and you can pass them to your kids. There's no servant in the world that would apply to. Oh, well, I'm sure that you're misunderstanding it. Oh, the verse that you found out about 10 minutes ago, I'm the one misunderstanding it, but not you.
I'm the one that doesn't get it. I'm the one that obviously I'm trying to make something out of it. And
yes.
Apparently the words don't mean what they say. They will be so quick to be like, oh, it's a metaphor for this, this, and this, or it was symbolic. It was supposed to mean this and this. And it's like, how is this verse specifically the one that's supposed to be symbolic, and everything else in the chapter is supposed to be taken literally?
Yep.
You want to tell me this one thing? Yep. That's metaphorical right there. They didn't mean that literally. Everything else though, totally. But that one right there, no, we don't have to actually follow that one. And it's like, they come up with excuses after excuses after excuses, and it's like, just say you're bigoted. Just say that you just don't care. Like, you don't care that it sanctions slavery. You don't care that people are pointing it out. You don't just say you don't care. It's okay to just be like, okay, I don't really care about that. I'm going to keep following this religion, even if it does support slavery. Like,
yeah, I respect them a hell of a lot more. I would respect them a hell of a lot more if they said one of two things, both of which are true. Either A, what you said, well, all right, it says it, but I don't give a fuck. I believe this and I don't care. Now, that does make me question your critical faculties. I do have to wonder about that, but at least it's honest, or two, they could say that, well, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I'm going to have to go back and study that some more. That's the answer you should give, right? It's like, oh, wow, I had no idea that was in there. I'm going to go look into this. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. And it's not that hard to say. I mean, you were wrong. It happens to literally everyone. I mean, it happens to some people a lot less than others, but I'm just saying it happens to everyone. You've been wrong. And if someone shows it to you, there's no shame at all and say, oh, thanks for pointing that out. I'll look into it. But no, they don't. They vehemently defend it no matter what. And I don't know. It's just, it's really frustrating. It makes me embarrassed for them that they know less about their God than I do. That's just like, I would feel really badly if someone who didn't even believe in my God was just like knows 10 times more, but it happens every time. It happens every goddamn time.
I think it's hilarious that people who don't follow Christianity read the Bible way more than people who do. And I didn't realize that until I left myself, because I didn't really read mine like that. And so there was a lot of things that I was finding that I was like, I didn't even know this was in here. I was swearing by this book and didn't even know that there was a story in here about this, 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 and this. And so, and I feel like people say this all the time. They're like, if Christians actually read the Bible, they wouldn't be Christians anymore. And I'm like, I read the Bible and I wasn't a Christian anymore. So I feel like it goes for a lot of people. I feel like sometimes it's blissful ignorance. Like they just kind of just want to be, they just kind of just want to be like, I don't know, but all I know is God is good all the time. And John 3:16, that's what I got. That's all I know.
All right. Okay. So that's a perfect segue here. All right. We were going to talk about Black conservatives. And do you have Candace Owens on your list by any chance of least favorite Black conservatives?
I do.
So what can you tell us about Miss Owens from what you've seen in your travels?
Lord. So apparently she said that the Black Lives Matter movement was a scam. and said that it was like promoting Black anarchy, basically, like telling us to go out and do crazy stuff. She said that George Floyd died of a drug overdose instead of a knee being on his neck and suffocating him. She's anti-vax. How are you anti-vax in 2024? Get your head out of your ass. I don't understand that. And apparently said that Hitler was decent at first.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, man.
Yeah. So all that is true. All that is true. She said she was with Charlie Kirk. I think she was overseas when she said this. For some reason, I think she's in Europe. And she was talking about Adolf Hitler. And she said that, well, if you look back at the historical record, what Hitler wanted to do was he wanted to make Germany great. He thought that he should, do everything. But the problem was he became a globalist and he started expanding things outside of Germany. And that's when the problem started. I said, no, actually, he was bad in Germany, too. I tell you, he was bad before he invaded Poland. And this is something you will see this a lot with these right wing folks because they love fascism. They love Nazis. They will defend Nazis to their dying breath. They will. I don't know if you've seen this, like, well, it's not fair to call them that because the Nazis invaded Poland in 1939. No one's done anything like that. It's like, okay, they were bad, but because they seem to, honestly, like, no joke, they seem to think the only thing bad about those guys was the Holocaust. Really, that's it. Like, they say, if that didn't happen, no, they still would have been bad, okay? Everything about them was brutal and fascist and detrimental to human life. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like Kanye West. She was best friends with Kanye West. She would defend Kanye West. That actually got her kind of kicked out of the Daily Wire. That was Ben Shapiro's limits. Like, okay, you can't keep saying that Hitler's a good guy. You kind of got to go. Yeah. And what else did you bring up? What was the second thing you said about her after the Black Lives Matter thing? You said Black Lives Matter. And
you said that George Floyd died of a drug overdose.
George Floyd, yeah. This was a common thing that folks on the right said too. It was funny to watch the George Floyd thing aftermath because after George Floyd's death, I watched every conservative commentator I know said the same thing. They said, that's fucked up. That's bullshit. This should have never happened. Obviously, this cop murdered this guy. And then the conservative audiences said, no, we're cool with it. And then just like that, every conservative commentator is like, oh, no, this was totally justified. And that's when they started coming out with, well, he had a lot of drugs in the system. And that's probably what killed him because they're cowards. Like they have complete audience capture. And I hesitate to say this. I kind of hate to say this right here. But with the Black Lives Matter being a scam thing, I know what she's talking about. And she's right in a way, because like what she meant, because like Black Lives Matter, the movement, and like protesting the extrajudicial murders of Black people, that is kind of, there's an actual Black Lives Matter foundation, like an actual entity that took donations and stuff. And the two people that started, I think it was two women, and they used the money to buy like multi-million-dollar houses or something instead of going to the cause. So that's probably what she was referring to. Trust me, I hate to give that, but what conservatives do is they take that and then they apply it to the entire notion of Black Lives Matter. That because what she's referencing and then what people will hear from that are two different things. And she knows that. Once again, she knows that. Like Candace Owens, you say these folks are evil, but they're not necessarily stupid. They know what they're going for here. And I wanted to bring up this clip. See if I find it about Candace Owens. This is her on Charlemagne's show, The Breakfast Club. She went on. Yeah, she went on The Breakfast Club. I think it was last year. And I remember her coming on and this happening. Charlemagne sets her up because they're testing her blackness, which I thought was very funny because come on, Candace fucking Owens. Oh, did you see that she actually sued her school for anti-Black racism when she was in high school? Did you see that story?
What?
Yeah. I'll try to pull that up too while we're doing this. But yeah, so this is I hope this is the right clip. I'm gonna look pretty stupid, but this is Candace Owens on The Breakfast Club. And I think you'll see why I pointed this out here.
Finish this response. God is good. God is good. Amen.
No. No. I thought you were going to say God is great.
No. All right. We'll keep playing it. Now, listen. If you are Black out there and you heard that, everyone knew the next line. Everyone knew the next fucking line. And because you said it a little, oh, yeah, I remember that clip. So let's finish it. I honestly, no joke, I was kind of surprised she didn't get it. Who wouldn't get this, right? Even Candace fucking Owens, you would imagine would get this. But all right, let's see what happens here. We'll finish this up. This is great. All right. She never lets us down, Candace.
Response. God is good. God is good. Amen.
No,
Jesus
no,
Christ.
Candace. No.
I thought you were gonna say God is great. Thank you for the
God is
48.
great.
No.
No. God, all right,
Y'all not gonna give it
I'm
answers?
gonna do you, Charlamagne.
Yes.
Charlamagne, God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
That's right. Where's that from?
Church.
Jesus Christ, Candace.
Church. God is good all the
Actually,
time.
but why
That's-
do you say all the time back?
That's
Where's
black
that from?
Black church. God is
From
good all the
Black
time.
Church.
Oh.
Everybody said it.
No, I,
Okay,
I
did you
definitely
go to
didn't
black
get that
churches?
one. No, I guess I didn't go to enough black churches, girl.
That is a perfect encapsulation of Candace Owens. Because I gotta tell you, I would have listen if you would have just said that if someone to Candace Owens they said God is good, I would guess she'd get it. I would bet money that she would actually get it, but no, she completely blew it. So yeah, I don't know what to say about. There's one more thing I saw with let me see. Candace Owens had like a baby shower or something like that. Did you see a picture of that?
I did.
That-
not.
Yeah, she posted a picture of her at let me see if I can find it. Give me a second here. This is great podcasting where I just dig around looking for a photo. Oh, here it is. Thank God. All right. So this is a picture Candace Owens shared on her Instagram. I'm pretty sure it's like of a baby shower she had, or maybe a bachelor bar or something. Those are Candace Owens' friends. Like those are. It is a fucking snowstorm. It is just like there are no black people to be found anywhere in this picture. And what really gets me about this that I try to be as fair as possible with something like this because I get it. I understand that as you get more money and your social class, your socioeconomic thing is higher, you hang around fewer and fewer black people because that's your social. You probably move into a neighborhood that's fewer black people. People you work around are gonna be fewer black people. I got that. However, this is a baby shower. Her fucking family didn't even show up. Like her family did not even show up. That is how poisonous and toxic Candace Owens is. And yeah, that's she's the fucking worst. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That is so sad. That's just sad to see. Like, I don't even see a tan in that picture. Like that.
No, yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a black person. Like, this is literally just all white people. Like, there's not even.
It's just, and Candace Owens is so. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but this from like white conservatives, they love Candace Owens. They love her. I've seen people like, oh, that Candace Owens, she's really smart. I think that she should run for office or something. And listen, if you're a black commentator specifically on politics, and all of your fan base is white people and no black people, as like you're not speaking for black people, you're speaking for white people. I think this is pretty easy to tell right here. So any white conservatives are like, oh, we love Candace Owens. Yeah, she knows that. She's pandering to you. She's not telling you what black people think. She's not speaking to the black experience. She's there to assuage the guilt of white racists. That's what she's there for.
Yeah. Apparently, she doesn't even know how black people think for real. She didn't even get the God is good all the time. I'm an atheist and I know this stuff. Like, if somebody said it to me, it's in my head. It would almost immediately come out. I'm still shocked by that. I'm like, I think you appeal to the white people because you're not connected to the black community at all. Not even a little bit. You don't know what we like. You don't know what we want. Anything.
I feel like you would have even seen that in a movie or something, or heard somebody say, even if you weren't in church or anything. I don't understand how you just went your entire life without hearing that as a black person.
Not even once. Like you didn't hear a family member say. You had to be around family before you were an adult. You heard none of them say it. You didn't see it in a movie. You didn't hear it on a song. Like, it's everywhere. It is everywhere.
I don't get it at all. So let's see if I can pull this up here. Hopefully the New York Times doesn't kick me out here. Let me see. This is the article I was referencing with Candace Owens. Make sure I got this one right here. So, racist threats case filed by Stanford High School student settled for $3,500. The lawsuit filed in May. Let's see, what year is this? 2016, the lawsuit filed in May accused the city of failing to act in part because one of the callers in Stanford, one of the callers was the mayor's son, Daniel Malloy. The exact amount the Board of Education paid to the family of Candace Owens, now an 18-year-old Stanford graduate, was made public yesterday after the advocate filed a Freedom of Information request last week. The case, let's see, what does it go into the details of this? Last February, at least one of 5 teenagers sitting in a car left messages threatening to kill Owens, who is Black, and repeatedly used a racial epithet. In one of the 3 messages, one of them referred to her as dirty and threatened to burn her house down and tar and feather her. And basically, it goes on to say that they used a bunch of racist threats against her while she was a high school student. So Candace Owens knows that racism is a pretty big deal. She knows it. Like, she actually went through it as a child, like as a teenager in school. And now she makes millions of dollars saying, nope, there's no racism. There's none out there. It doesn't exist. Just, I don't understand. Listen, could you imagine a check big enough for you to do that? Like, could you?
I genuinely could not. That's not something that I think could ever be bought. That's not something where it's like, oh yeah, if I take this amount of money, like I remember I saw somebody talk about like how much would it cost for you to like cast your vote for Trump, and it's like, my life. That's what it would cost. I'm not doing that. And so I feel like hearing that she dealt with racism herself, and then hearing that now she's turning around and saying, oh, racism isn't really a thing, and she's appealing specifically to white people, it feels like a trauma response. It feels like she is kind of like, I dealt with this thing, and now I feel this constant need to appeal to the same people who despise me for some reason. Like, I want to make them like me. I want to feel accepted by them, even if it means not being accepted by my own community. And the sad thing about it is, you're not even accepted really by the white community, really, because there are people who will act like, oh my God, we love you so much, and this, that, and the thing. And then as soon as you stop giving them what they wanted, all of a sudden you're a monkey. All of a sudden you're this. All of a sudden you're that. They're calling you slurs and all of that. And it's like, whoa, where was this energy before? And it's like, it was always there, but you were doing something for them.
Yep.
You were giving them something that they wanted. Once you stop doing that, they just see you as another Black person.
Yeah, you're an inconvenience, or it's a temporary alliance, and they all know it, and she probably knows it too. Honestly, she probably does, and she's like, well, I'm just gonna make as much bank as I can, and take, because if you have no morals and you just want money more than anything else, yeah, I can see doing that, but I just can't imagine being that person. I just can't. All right, who else we got on the list for you here?
Let's see. There's one that really caught me. Ben Carson.
Ben Carson. All right. Yeah. So, are you familiar? Were you familiar with Ben Carson over the years? Or?
I was not. I had heard his name float around just a little bit, and I still don't know a whole lot about him. But from what I had to look into, what is wrong with this man?
All right.
I found a couple of different things. There was the one that got me the absolute most. It's not him like denying climate change or anything like that, which is insane. The thing that got me was there was a quote that he said, and I don't remember it verbatim, but he basically was like, I've never seen a body filled with bullet holes, and that was more devastating than the idea of my guns being taken away. And I was like,
oh,
you're a piece of shit. You're a different type of person. I want to find that exact quote. I found it. And I was like, now, granted, he's not alone in that. And I know that for a fact. There are a lot of people who literally could not care less about gun violence because they want to have the freedom to have their guns that badly. I live in Texas. People open carry around here. Like, I see it everywhere. And so it was, oh yeah, he said that same-sex marriage shouldn't have been legalized. And it's like, what is wrong with you? Like, and those were just the things that I found from him. I wasn't super familiar with him before because I stay away from Black conservatives. They piss me off.
I have so much to tell you about Ben Carson. Okay, I have so much. All right. So Ben Carson, I first heard about Ben Carson as a 12-year-old boy. And as a 12-year-old boy, I did a book report on a book called Gifted Hands. And it is a book about Ben Carson. And Ben Carson, for those of you who don't know, he is a very stupid man, okay, but he's also a goddamn genius. And that is like something that is like, he at the time of like, he's old now, he's like 70 something years old. But when he was active, he was the best brain surgeon on planet Earth. He's a literal brain surgeon and a world-renowned brain surgeon. He was the first person to ever successfully separate twins conjoined at the head. So like their brain material, what they had to separate. No one could figure this out. He fucking figured it out. And Ben Carson, he grew up because I read the book when I was 12, but he grew up poor. He grew up in the projects, and he got a scholarship to go to, I think, Johns Hopkins for med school and everything. And, brilliant guy when it comes to medicine, at least, but he is dumb in every other fucking category. Like you ever hear him talk and the stuff he says, he maxed all his points into the brain surgeon thing, which is a great thing, a great place to put it. But everywhere else, he's absolutely insane, and he's against any sort of government assistance. Although the only reason he's alive is because of government assistance. He admitted it himself, because of the assistance that his mom got. And Ben Carson he's a Seventh-day Adventist, and he's a very extreme Christian. Now, I saw you right here now. So for those of you who don't know, because odds are you guys don't know any Seventh-day Adventists. I don't know if I've met a lot in my time, like maybe a couple in my day. And the Seventh-day Adventists, I respect them for one thing, and that's the fact that they acknowledge the Sabbath is Saturday, which
They're the only ones.
Yeah, this is when I was a kid, I remember like going over the 10 Commandments and everything, and it says, remember the Sabbath, keep it holy, okay. And then I found out that as a kid, the Sabbath is Saturday, and Jewish people observe the Sabbath on Saturday. I was like, okay, then why do we make such a big deal about not working on Sunday when it's not the Sabbath?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, in the Bible, they did the explanation of why would church on Sunday. Well, so Jesus died on Friday, he rose on Sunday, so Christians being the first day of the week to honor Jesus. Like, okay, great, got it. That's why we go to church. Why do we call Sunday the Sabbath? And look, show me in the Bible where it says, oh, by the way, the Sabbath is the first day of the week now. It ain't there. There. So I do respect the Seventh-day Adventists for actually acknowledging that the Sabbath is Saturday, but they lose a lot of that respect because the reason they are called Seventh-day Adventists is that years ago, you had this guy, this prophet, who said that it's like in the 1800s or something. He's like, Jesus is returning on March 3rd, 1889, whenever it was. I can't remember what happened. And then, as you see, we're all still around. Christ did not come back. And they kept trying to, and they refer to that as the Advent or whatever. And so they've named themselves after their failure in prophecy. So already insane there. He was chosen as Donald Trump's, I think, the head of, it was like, not Health and Human Services, but like a Department of something like that, urban development. That's what it was. Of course, he put the black guy in charge of urban development. Of course, it's something Donald Trump would do. Ben Carson has no experience at all in urban development, but he's a black guy. We'll put him in charge of urban. So yeah, it makes something Donald Trump would do. But I remember when because he ran for president back in 2016, and for the Republican primaries. And Ben Carson said, you'll appreciate this, Serafina, where he said, well, I remember reading the story about Joseph and how he hid grain in the pyramids for the famine. The Bible never says anything about hiding grain in pyramids. It said that Joseph said we need to save grain, but for some reason he assumed that Joseph hollowed out the pyramids and filled them with grain over the years.
I was like, they're not even hollow on the inside, are they?
That's the person we're dealing with here with Ben Carson. Thank God, I almost forgot about this. So this is at Ben Carson's house. I think he let a camera crew into his house, and Ben Carson has this painting of him and Jesus in his house with he has this fucking painting of a very weird looking Jesus too, but yeah, Jesus holding on Ben Carson's shoulder in his white lab coat. Very weird dude, very strange, but I appreciate the Ben Carson one. That one's pretty great.
Why would he have that hanging in his house? Oh God, that looks like a rough draft. I'm so sorry.
Yes, in your deepest Christian days, could you imagine commissioning a drawing or a painting of Jesus and you? I just like having a picture of Jesus in your house, okay, fine, but Jesus with his hand on my shoulder, odd. I just think that's kind of fucking bizarre.
It's too
Yeah.
weird. Even in like my most like I would like super devout Christian days, I would not do that. That's weird.
Yeah, I see it as like kind of sacrilegious or something. It's like, why? What makes me think that I deserve to be in the presence of Jesus in this photo? Yeah, it's kind of
And
strange.
he's judging me. Like you see Jesus as like a very, very sacred individual and all of that. And it's like you're not only is he in like your vicinity, he's touching you.
Yeah.
No, he touched people to like heal them, and he was doing all of that. That's what that was. To assume that for one, you would be in his presence and that he would be allowed around him and all of that, because we all of the Christians believe that we're just like not worthy or whatever. But having the hands on you, that's the stuff that's really got me like, this wouldn't happen, sir. And I feel like this would offend some people.
This is something that I remember finding a little odd while I was a Christian, at how goddamn fucking familiar people were with or treated God with them, because this is the creator of the universe. And I think a lot of it comes down to, they put the emphasis on the fact that you have a close personal relationship with God, capital G, God Almighty. Like you're so tight with the guy, you and his kid are on a first name basis, you know, and this is like, it's odd, right? And it's like you're just gonna barge in front of the presence of the creator deity who spoke reality into it. Who the fuck do you think you are? Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, God, not only is God responsible for all this, but he has a special mission for me. He knows everything about me. And it's like, okay, so are you in awe and reverence of this guy, or is he your buddy? Which one is it? Because they seem to have it both ways, and I don't think that's how this could possibly work.
I never understood that. I could never like truly get on board with that, because I would see people in my church that would be like, oh yeah, and I was talking to God yesterday, and they're having like a back and forth conversation, and I'm like, you're telling me that the same person or the same being who created literally everything that we're saying created all of this also has enough time to sit and have a one-on-one with you on a random Tuesday afternoon while children are dying. Like
this is it's honestly it's insulting. Like it is so unbelievable. It's insulting because like I don't know how you could come up to someone and say, yeah, I spoke to God the other day and I was in a panic because I couldn't find my keys. And if I was going to be late for work, I could lose my job. And out of nowhere, I got this idea, oh, check the corner of the garage. And there my keys were. That was a God thing. Totally a God thing. Like, he really saved me then. I'm really appreciative. It's like a child got raped and murdered yesterday. Yeah. Like a child that was a Christian. And you're telling me that God said, nope, gonna let that slide, human free will and all, but really gotta help Carl here find his keys to get back to work. It's like, I would be so disappointed in God. Yeah, fuck my job. I can find another one, okay? Yeah. Save that child's life. You should be enraged at your God. And that's where the fucking solipsism comes in. It's I'm always a little miffed when I hear people say that they believed in God, but they don't believe in God anymore because something bad happened to them. Now, I get like leaving a church or leaving a faith because of that, but the belief in God is like, slavery happened. The Holocaust happened. There are wars going on right now, but because, you broke your leg, you're like, oh, well, I guess God wasn't watching out for me after all. You didn't give a fuck about anybody else. Say what?
Yeah, people used to tell me actually, like, if that was the thing that made me like stop believing in God, like because I was abused as a child. And I'm like, I mean, it helped, but that wasn't the only reason. It wasn't like I just woke up one day and was like, nope, God doesn't exist anymore, because if he did, he would have saved me specifically from this situation right here instead of saving all the other. Like I regularly have to ask Christians, where is your God's priorities? Because genuinely, if he's helping you get a parking spot, but he's allowing other people to be raped and murdered and people get cancer and die in horrible ways and stuff, and he's kind of just like, free will, but he helped you get a parking spot? I'm like, either this is not real or his priorities are fucked.
Yes, absolutely. And I say this all the time when it comes to, now, if like say something bad happened to me and say Wolfie died, like my cat, say Wolfie died. I'm like, oh, it's sad. Wolfie's only 2 years old and he died. I can't believe God took him away from me. Now listen, I can understand. All right, maybe the God I worship isn't the right God because like my God wouldn't have let my cat die or something. That wouldn't destroy the concept of a God for me. Those are two different things, right? Those are two completely separate things. But if you insist on believing in a God who does this stuff, I think that it kind of lends credence to the Christian fundamentalists and how they say that Donald Trump is blessed by God. Because I got to tell you, at this point, it's kind of hard to argue against them. I got to tell you, I am having a very difficult time saying, well, this guy, he is definitely, if anybody on this planet is blessed by God, it is Donald J. Trump. Because it also verifies all of my strongest suspicions that our deepest, like, philosophical questions would be solved if God were real and he were evil. Like, if we assume that God exists and he's evil, things start to make a hell of a lot more sense. They certainly don't make less sense. They make a lot more sense. And Donald Trump winning another election, surviving 2 assassination attempts. Oh yeah, God is evil. He wants us to suffer. I'm with them now. I'm with you guys. God exists and he loves Trump. I agree.
Plus, have you cracked open the Bible? Like, just crack it open anywhere in the Old Testament specifically, and you will see this God. No, he does not. He does not care. He sanctions rape. He sanctions misogyny. He sanctions so many different things, and it's like, yeah, I'd say this dude is pretty godly. Not gonna lie, even if he doesn't believe in it.
I'm trying to think. I saw something the other day. It may have been one of your videos. I'm not sure because I think it was last month, but it was talking about King David, and King David, which is another, they compare Saul to King David all the time, which I find hilarious because I was like, oh, look, David was a bad guy too. I was like, yeah, David was also a successful, competent warrior and a politician and statesman. Like, I mean, say what you want about the guy, but it's an insult to him to compare him to Donald Trump. But I hadn't noticed that when David was complaining to God about something, God said, listen, I gave you your enemy's crown. I gave you Saul's crown. I gave you his money. I gave you his palace. I gave you his wives. And I had never noticed that before. I was like, wait, he gave, like, how are you guys defend this? How are you guys going to defend? The God said, oh yeah, Saul's wives, they're yours now. How they feel about it, I don't care. They are your property because that's what God kind of thought of women at the time. So yeah, I don't know. I think that we owe Christians a little bit of grace there, talking about God protecting Trump because I think he did. But I want to interject do you know who Jesse Lee Peterson is by any chance?
I've heard the name, but I do not know the person.
He is the worst Black conservative. I know that you've seen a lot of bad ones, but they all pale in comparison to Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse Lee Peterson, it's hard to believe he's real. Like he speaks like he has some sort of like mental issue or speech impediment. One of the two, I don't know. But so I'm not clowning on him because he's a poor speaker, but I'm clowning on him because he is a white supremacist. He's a black face to white supremacism. And worse than Candace Owens, by the way. He's 10 Candace Owens. He's infinitely worse. And I'll show you a clip real soon. But Jesse Lee Peterson is always, he has a radio show. When you hear his voice, you're like, how does this guy have a radio show? And he's had it for years. And he's always talking about the problem with women and with queer people and with Black people. Like all of his content is talking about how bad Black people are and how the nation would be better off if there were no Black people. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. This is a clip with Jesse Lee Peterson, and Hassan Piker was on his show. And Hassan is asking this guy, like, wait, do you just think that white people are better than Black people? And this is let's go with this. Let's see what Jesse Lee Peterson has to say here.
Are kind of bad names.
Well, white supremacists
Is it
are
fair
called white
to
supremacists.
white people to treat them that way after they have built the greatest country on this side of heaven and allow your mama to come here from Turkey?
Do you not think that Black people played a significant role in building this country?
You're not answering my question. Is that fair to white people?
Say yes or no. Do you think Black people did? Do you not think that Black people played a significant role?
Is that fair to white people?
There's no such thing. Like, there's no fairness to white people. This is not a white person's country. Asian people played a significant role in building this country. Who built this country?
They left their country to come here.
Do you not think that Black people played a significant role? Do you not think that African Americans played a significant role in building this
No.
country? How could you? Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Be-
do you think white
because
people are better than Black people? Let's
better
just get
in-
right to it. Do you
yeah,
think white people are better than
in
Black
the
people?
sense that
What, better in what sense?
I'm about to tell you is that they create and Black people destroy.
Holy crap, dude. Oh my God.
That is all of Jesse Lee Peterson's content. All of his content is exactly like that. Because it's impossible to with a lot of these folks, they're clever, you know, and they know how to dance around. They know how to make bigoted talking points and trying to hide it and conceal it in clever language. But that doesn't work on Jesse Lee Peterson, because Hassan straight up said, "Hey, do you think white people are better than Black people?" Yes, I do. I think they are. He'll just come right out and say it. So that's mine. Like, have you seen anyone that brazen with like Mr. Peterson there?
Oh my god, I have not. I'm I'm kind of speechless because I've never heard him talk before. I've never seen that, and
He's the worst.
I don't understand like how you can look at this country and the history of it and not see the contributions of the Black community and how we built this shit up. And it's like, this isn't white people's country either. It's the Native Americans. That's why they're called Native Americans. They were the ones who started this. So what is he even talking about?
Yeah, it's like Jesse Lee Peterson knows that there's a lot of money to be made in just trying to ignore the Black experience and to downgrade them at every possible opportunity. And once again, all of his fans are going to be white people. They're all going to be a bunch of white people who are shitting on it. And he's found a lane to just deny reality. That Black people built the White House, like literally, like it was built by slave labor. And he's going to say, no, Black people didn't have any contribution because, yeah, you know, that's just how it is right there. All right. I hope I found a clip here of Byron Donalds. Now, I had brought this up to Serafina a little earlier. Byron Donalds is a congressman, I believe, from South Carolina. Let me see. This is a video of him talk. Well, let's see what he has to say. If I got the right clip.
The Black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more Black.
Good old days. Watch.
During Jim Crow, the Black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people always have been conservative minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are.
All right. So that was Byron Donalds saying something that you hear from a lot of Black conservatives, or honestly, a lot of conservatives in general. Well, they'll hearken back to the days of Jim Crow and say, well, look, you know, say what you want, but back in the 50s and 60s, there were a lot more Black families together. So maybe those times weren't so bad. And that guy's a sitting congressman of the United States.
Does he have a reading level past like 6th grade? I don't understand how you can come to that conclusion.
Well,
we were together because that's literally all we had. Everyone else hated us. Where were we gonna go? What were we gonna do? We had to make our own restaurants, make our own businesses, and when we did that, they burned them down. So like,
so that's the angle that they'll play. You'll hear this actually from a lot of Black conservatives. Well, they'll say that actually desegregation was bad because before desegregation, Black people had to stay together in their communities and help each other out and for business. But this is actually kind of like a Dr. Umar point too, where he was like once we started integrating into the white population, we started scattering away. And the marriage one, what they're specifically referencing is that the welfare assistance that was put in place after, during the late 60s, early 70s, that a lot of it was tied to marital status. So if you were married, you were less likely to receive assistance than if you were single. And they say, well, that's the reason that there are all these divorces afterward, and the divorce rate skyrocketed, when there's dozens of reasons for that. When the fact that women were allowed to actually leave now, they were allowed to get, bank accounts. Divorce laws started changing. You had no-fault divorce. Women weren't trapped into these marriages. Also, the conservatives, Black or otherwise, suspiciously leave out the war on drugs. They never bring this up as to why there was a lowering of the number of married black people when millions of black men were locked up for no fucking reason for 20, 30 years and thrown in prison. Maybe that had something to do with black marriage rates going down. Never referenced that. Never. It's like, no, after Jim Crow and hundreds of years of either slavery and or oppression, the United States government said, okay, we owe at least something to black people. No, fuck them. There's like that. No, we didn't owe them anything, and all falling apart. It's all because that the government did the right thing. That's what really caused the breakdown. And I have to point this out every time. They always say that the cohesion of the black family is this preeminent thing, because when the family unit broke apart, that's when we started getting all the problems, all the crime and everything. Although, interestingly enough, crime rates in the black population higher before the Civil Rights Act, higher before all that. So it didn't do anything they're saying, but it's a way to message to people that, once again, Byron Donalds is a black representative of a nearly entirely white community. So, he's telling black or white people what they want to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's hold on, someone say here. I feel blessed that my Christian teachings about God and Jesus were really different from yours. Sorry you didn't get the same. It would sound hypocritical. Edward sounds hypocritical as well. All right, so Seraphine and I don't speak for her, but we're both atheists and everything, but I'll speak on my thoughts on this. I don't fault anyone for being a Christian. Like, if you want to be a Christian, fine. I think there's no evidence for it. There's no good reason to be one. But being a Christian doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that, because honestly, like Bible and Christianity, it can mean literally anything you want it to mean. It always has. It always will. If you want it to be something good, if you want it to be if it helps you make sense of the world, I'm not going to fault you for that. I might make fun of you on that thing, but I don't think that makes you a bad person or whatever. But the fact that the Christian teachings about God were bad, that's not necessarily what led us away from, at least on my case, like that's not necessarily led me away from it. I left it because it wasn't true. That's why I left. It had nothing to do with the teachings being poor, because like it's detrimental in a lot of ways, but that wasn't the foundation of my departure, at least. I'll let Seraphina speak on her experience.
Yeah, it didn't really have much to do with that, because I went to so many different churches and they taught it so many different ways. A lot of Christians, like when they hear you say that you left the religion, they'll be like, oh, well, you just need to find another church because, whatever, like the church that you went to, they weren't teaching you right or whatever. And it's like, no, this just isn't real. Yeah. This just isn't real. And it's like, I look at it as like just another mythology. Like, yeah. Like it's cool if I'm not going to fault anybody for believing in like Greek mythology, like they worship Zeus or whatever. Like, I don't care. But when you make it our problem, when you make our beliefs our problem and we don't believe in that stuff, that's when we start to feel some type of way towards that certain demographic. But honestly, it had little to do with how they were being taught. I mean, it always plays a factor, I would say. Like there's always, and I have a unique perspective being a woman raised in the church, because they teach us things a lot differently. And so there's a lot that still like sticks with me, like the misogyny I talked about earlier, like with my mom saying, you can't be a woman and be a pastor and this, that, and the third. I could go to another church and they would say, no, that's completely wrong. You can be like, you can be a woman and you can be a pastor. Like it has nothing to do with the people that are teaching it, as long like for me, speaking from my experience, it was just, I started reading the Bible, stuff started not making sense. I found my own answers and realized that it wasn't real. And that was the end of it for me. I don't think going to a different church or hearing it taught a different way would have changed anything, but that's just me.
Yeah. It is fun to joke about though. We're going to close out with some trivia here in a little bit. Well, those are the two that I brought. I could have brought a dozen, but did you have anyone else on the list before we move on? We'll close out here.
Yeah, because
you can have a couple more if you want. It's fine. I
think the main one that I really was just like, what are you doing, dude? It's Kanye West. I
almost put Kanye West. It's
just so embarrassing. It's like, dude, like if you talked shit about Kanye like 20 years ago, people would look at you sideways. They'd be like, what are you even talking about? Kanye's a literal genius. Like, what are you on? Today, it's like, okay, what else did he do? Did he do something else crazy? What did he say today? What did he do? Because it's like, always doing stuff, whether it was the White Lives Matter shirts, the anti-Semitism, saying that slavery was a choice, and being a Trump supporter. And it's like the Black community, in a general sense, loved Kanye West, absolutely adored him. I still have to fight off the urge to listen to Graduation because it was one of my favorite albums by him, and it pisses me off so much because I'm like, you made like a complete turn, a complete like 180, like you just went left, and it just gets more and more and more sad, and it's ridiculous. And plus, he's also, I haven't confirmed, but I saw an article that apparently he has this like he feels this empathy towards white men that are being oppressed, because he's like, oh yeah, I was oppressed as well, and so like I feel for them and all of that. And I'm just like, not the same. It's not the same oppression. You should know that as a Black person. That's why it pisses me off when Black people are conservatives. That's why I try to stay away from them as a whole. It just kind of throws me completely for a loop. What was another? Clarence Thomas was another one. That, I swear, I saw that apparently during like the Reagan administration, he was basically like, all the civil rights leaders, all they do is bitch and moan and whine and complain and shit. And I'm like, there's no way that you were there and you're still saying that they're just bitching, moaning, and complaining. Like, you're old. You were there. You saw it. And so he pisses me off as an individual. Every time I see his stupid face, I'm just like, why do you exist? Why are you the one that's making decisions on laws and shit? He was part of the reason why Roe v. Wade got overturned. I'm like, absolutely. Fuck you, dude. Like,
yeah. Clarence Thomas, he let me see if I get this right here. So Clarence Thomas, we'll start with Kanye West. Wow, Kanye West. Okay, so you're right that Kanye West, like you'd have asked me about Kanye West 10 years ago, whatever. I was like, oh yeah, listen, Kanye West, like the guy, or he knows what he's doing. He's different. He's really creative, kind of weird. Wow, did I not see it? Did I not see it coming? How like wild Kanye would actually get. And it started out with Kanye. What was the first thing? Well, he started out where he said that slavery was a choice. He said, I think that, like he would have had a fucking, you think Kanye West, like weak, tiny ass would have done anything during the slave days? And then he wore a White Lives Matter jacket, I remember. And like he like posted or wore some Confederate flag once, and then he went into like he posted that tweet saying, I am calling DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people or whatever, which is when it really started going downhill, and saying how much he loved the Third Reich and everything like that. And yeah, it's been horrifying to watch that Kanye West and everything, because he became buddies with Trump. He's hanging out with Donald Trump and everything. That Kanye West is another example of a Black person who actually just hates Black people. He always talks about how much he loves Black people and sings the praises of Black people, but he doesn't like Black people. Like he's a self-hating individual. And I do have to admit though that I still listen to Kanye's music. I'm not going to stop. No one can stop me. I'm sorry. Me not listening to music is not going to make Kanye less racist. I just like, Kanye's a piece of shit, but All the Lights is a fantastic song. When I work out, I'm going to listen to it. So I get people not doing it, but TJ, I'm not that strong. Stronger, also a great song. But then Clarence Thomas is, for those of you who somehow don't know who Clarence Thomas is and listen to the show, I don't know how that's going to be a tiny percentage of people, but he's a Supreme Court justice. He was nominated by, I think, George Bush Sr., and he was the second Black Supreme Court justice in U.S. history, and he is a rabid right-wing conservative. And when the Supreme Court, whenever they overturned Roe v. Wade, I'm pretty sure Clarence Thomas said in a statement that they asked him about two other decisions, which were Obergefell and Loving versus Virginia. And Obergefell was the decision that gave constitutional rights for gay marriages. And then Loving versus Virginia was the one that recognized interracial marriages for the United States. And Clarence Thomas said, yeah, if you ask me, both of those are up for debate. We can kind of go over those. Clarence Thomas is married to a white woman. Clarence Thomas he's like, yeah, interracial marriage, I don't know if it should be legal or not. I don't know. Maybe we should leave it up. So maybe we should leave that up to the states. Like, that's who we're dealing with here with Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas also got in trouble. The Supreme Court justice can't really get in trouble, but he was criticized because he was taking bribes from Peter Thiel, I think. Peter Thiel had taken him on yacht trips and flown, like a billionaire Peter Thiel, and flown him overseas. Peter Thiel had bought Clarence Thomas's mom a house. Peter Thiel also paid for Clarence Thomas' son to go to private school. So you can just bribe Supreme Court justices now, and nothing's going to happen. There's no statutes or anything to stand in the way of it. So yeah, Clarence Thomas, excellent choice right there. That guy, and he's probably going to retire under Donald Trump and be replaced with another, conservative who's going to be on the court the rest of our lives. By the way, interesting tidbit here. I'll say this for the trivia, but do you know the qualifications to be a Supreme Court justice? There aren't any. You don't need there's no age requirement. There's no citizenship requirement. There is no education requirement. You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to be a judge. Literally, you can appoint a 9-year-old Spaniard and like, okay, I want that person to be on the Supreme Court. No constitutional law against it. If the president appoints you and the Senate confirms you, anybody can be on the Supreme Court. So who knows who Donald Trump is going to nominate for the Supreme Court this go around with no one to stop him. So yeah,
seeing all the people that he has chosen so far, I'm like, it pisses. I'm like, I'm with you whenever I say that I really don't want to blame the voters on this one.
I know.
I'm like, how did y'all let this happen?
We can blame the voters, but we get what we deserve. This is what we voted for. We can't even hide behind the popular vote thing this time.
No.
Most people, more people voted for Trump than Kamala Harris.
Exactly.
This is the choice of the American people. It's like, all right, this is what you guys want. This is what you got. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, it makes me sad, but that's the way this is. Like, we have principles, unlike the right wing. We think democracy is good even when it screws us over. So, all right, we're going to close things out here. I appreciate your patience, sir, if you're going for long to say. But Bible trivia. Do you have any good Bible trivia for us? Any the weirdest or most interesting point of Bible trivia you know?
Oh, I just made a video about this one. So, there is this I don't even know if it counts as like a mass resurrection, but there is this passage right after Jesus is crucified. This is in Matthew 27. This is like verses 51 through 53. And it basically goes over this small instance where after Jesus died, after he breathes his last, and I'm saying this verbatim, the bodies of some holy people rose out of the tombs and came out and appeared before many people. And then the story just continues on. Like, they didn't even add that in there. And it doesn't tell you what happened to the body, to, like, the people, if they were actually alive or if it was just their bodies, where they went, who saw them, who they were. One of the people in my comments was like, I wonder if one of those was John the Baptist. And of course I had to say, I wonder if his head was still attached.
That is great. I wonder if his head was still attached.
I wonder if he had to hold it or if he had
That's so funny. What if his head was still attached? That story. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was insane. And it's not in when they tell the crucifixion in Mark, when they tell it in Luke, when they tell it in John, nobody talks about that. So it's just in Matthew. That's it.
That is an insane story. And I love referencing that story too, because when people talk about, you ever see these folks and they say that the not only was Jesus a real person, which is an entirely different conversation to if he was the Son of God and had superpowers too. They try to conflate those. Those are not the same thing. Jesus could definitely be real. The other stuff, all right, you got a lot of work ahead of you. And they'll say the resurrection happened. We know it happened because we have 500 witnesses. We have 500 witnesses, And so I was like, okay, what about the people rising from the graves after Jesus's crucifixion? You don't think anyone else would have written this down? You don't think this would be the most talked about recorded event of the entire Middle East? If anybody saw this other than Matthew, I think we would know. I think that other independent sources would come to this, but mysteriously not mentioned anywhere.
No, not anywhere. And it's so strange. And the thing is, it's not even mentioned it's not mentioned anywhere else, even in the Bible itself. They just throw it in there and they just go on about the rest of the story. They're like, and in the evening this happened, and then the next morning, and it's like, no, what happened with the bodies? Where did they go? Who were they? Why did they rise up? Who decided to do that? Like, there's so many different things that like go into that. And another thing that from what you just said, I think it's really funny when people are like, oh, but Jesus, he was divine because he resurrected. And it's
Oh,
like,
I was right about to go there. Go
Yes,
for it. Go for it.
yes. They're like, oh, he's so divine because he resurrected. And it's like, apparently everybody was coming back to life. Apparently they were just raising people back up from the dead all the time. And then they say, oh, well, it was because of his death and his sacrifice. And it's like, other people were executed the exact same way that he was. What's the difference?
Yeah, it seems, honestly, if you're going to reference Jesus' resurrection as proof that he's the Son of God, you've got a lot of work ahead of you, because I've read the Bible and it appears that resurrection was a bit of a banality at the time. It seemed not all that interesting. Judas resurrected. Was he the Son of God? He didn't say. He had nothing to say about it. He was like, oh yeah, I'm back now. Not anything about where he'd been for all this time, what his secrets of the afterlife were. Nothing at all. There's another resurrection story in Elijah when.
Yep.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna. I thought it was interesting because people like to say like, oh, but Jesus, he was so divine, he ascended into heaven, and I'm like, well, shit, Elijah ascended into heaven way before then, and I'm like, there was a witness and everything. Like, he ascended into heaven, and this is kind of off topic a bit, but the thing that I never really understood was when they say they ascend into heaven, I'm like, where do the bodies go? Because it's not like they're leaving their body and their spirit just goes up, because the way that the stories describe it is they're like, and they just completely disappear. They're just gone. And so my thought has always been, if they're ascending into heaven, is their physical body in heaven? Does it get away? Does it what happens to it?
I've never thought about that. That's a really good question, because you're right. Whenever it talks about like Enoch ascending into heaven or Elijah ascending into heaven, they don't say their spirits ascended. They say they ascended. In fact, even when Jesus ascended into heaven, it was his physical body. And yeah, did their bodies burn in the atmosphere? Well, was that it? Was it they just, because it never, that's a fucking good question. I can't believe I never thought about that, because wow, I'm kind of embarrassed. That's a very good question. And they never bring that up. And he also, Elijah, he raised someone from the dead himself. There was a story of the child who dies. And I'm not kidding you, people. Like, the child is dead. His body is stretched out on the ground. Elijah lays on top of him. Or was that Isaiah? I can't remember. I got confused. But they lay on top of his body, like presses his mouth against the child's mouth and his nose against the child's nose, and like lays on top of him. And that's how he resurrects him from the dead. Just lies spread eagle over this person right here. And it's like, that is a weird fucking resurrection. That's a weird one. But yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't even wake up to that. I feel like if I woke up to that, I'd be like, bro, get off me. What is this?
Let me see if I can find that passage or whatever. It's Elisha. It was Elisha. Okay. 2 Kings 3:4. Let's see if I can pull this bad boy up here. That was let's see, 2 Kings 3. Hi, Wolfie. My cat's loud. All right, let's see. 3:4. Shit, can't find it. But it says that when the dead man came in contact with Elijah, came to the brothers. Man, I feel embarrassed. I can't find this anywhere. But he raised the son of Zarephath or whatever, and he lays on top of him, and mouth to mouth, and breathes into the child's mouth, and the child comes to life. He breathes in the widow's son. Yeah, it was 1 Kings. That's what it is, came from here. I'll pull it up, see if I can share this with the good folks here.
That's a new one. I'm gonna have to cover that.
Yeah, so
talk about that.
All right. Elijah raises the widow's son. After this, the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, became ill, and his illness was so severe that there was no breath in him. And she said to Elijah, "What have you against me, O man of God? You have come to me to beg my sin to remembrance and to cause the death of my son." And he said to her, "Give me your son." Not something you ever want to hear.
No.
And he took him from her arms and carried him into the upper chamber where he lodged and laid him on his own bed. And he cried to the Lord, "O Lord my God, have you brought calamity even upon the widow with whom I sojourned by killing her son?" Then he stretched himself upon the child 3 times and cried to the Lord, "O Lord my God, let this child's life come into him again." The Lord listened to Elijah, and the life of the child came into him again. And Elijah, oh, wait. Fuck it. I'll find the other one. That's actually the same one I talked about before, but now I feel embarrassed. I'll find it and send it to you, but it's
No,
pretty
'cause I
good.
didn't even know about that one. That one's
Yeah,
insane.
stretching this up. But there's another part where it goes into more detail about how he stretched himself on the child. Like he lined his face up with the child's face and everything and brought the child back to life. I'll find that and send it to you. But all right, I have kept you almost 2 hours, like longer than I planned. I was an hour and a half, but I appreciate that. Can you tell the good folks where they can find your content?
Yes, so I am at the Devil's Daughter 162 on TikTok. You can find me also at Serafina Simone on Blue Sky. I'm on that now. Sometimes I say stuff, not always, but sometimes I say stuff. I also have a YouTube channel, which is under the same name, The Devil's Daughter 162. I don't post a lot on there now, but I will be soon, so you can find me there.
How are you liking it over there on Blue Sky? I got on there a little while ago, and what do you think of it so far?
It has been a nice breath of fresh air. Honestly, I haven't seen a lot of, if I want to escape the bigots, I kind of just go to Blue Sky because they're kind of not on there yet. And so I have a decent amount of fun on there. A lot of my feed is just authors and books. And I just found a new book series that this author wrote. Actually, I think I have it. I still have it pulled up. It's called The 13th Hour. And it's written by this author called Trudy Skies. And they basically write about killing gods. And I have been enjoying the hell out of it.
I love that.
Yeah. And so I found that because of Blue Sky. I would have never known about that series at all if it wasn't for them. And so I found a lot of really cool books to check out. I follow a lot of my TikTok mutuals on there, and I've genuinely been having a good time over there. It's a nice place. I was never a Twitter person. I would kind of just get on, like I had an account, but I would get on if somebody was talking about something that was trending on Twitter or whatever. But I was never really the person that was constantly on it. Blue Sky, it feels nice. I like it.
It's a good respite because I was on Twitter for a long time and it's the fucking worst. It is terrible now. I lied to you. I won't let you leave quite yet because I did find the verse I was talking about.
Yes,
Here we go.
yes.
It's 2 Kings 4:32. When Elisha reached the house, there was a boy lying dead on his couch. He went in, shut the door on the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. Then he got on the bed. He lay on the boy, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands. He stretched himself out upon him. The boy's body grew warm. Elisha turned away and walked back and forth in the room and got on the bed and stretched out on him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Elisha summoned Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite," and he did. When she came in, he said, "Take your son." She came in, fell at his feet, bowed to the ground, and then she took her son and went out. So yeah, very, very detailed description of Elisha lying spread eagle on a child's body, dead body, and doing eye to eye, nose to nose, mouth to mouth, hand to hand, spiritual resuscitation. Very uncomfortable verse to read, like a very uncomfortable one right there. So yeah.
And plus, that's just.
What are we supposed to learn from that?
Is that not witchcraft? I'm so sorry.
I know, right? It's insanity. That's insanity, but.
I hate the fact that Christians like demonize witchcraft so much. And I'm like, there's so many examples in the Bible itself of other people who were appointed by God doing witchcraft. It's like, this isn't a new thing.
That's a good point. That's a fucking spell. If it was about God's power, he could have just said, "All right, raised from the dead," right? What?
He's done it before.
Yeah, I do anything like that. But all right, cool. All right, folks, we'll catch you guys later. Thanks so much, Serafina. We enjoy it. Catch you guys next time.